Hi, this is Misha, and in our continuing closer look at Japanese guns, we're on to probably the most famous and most mass-produced of them all. This is the Arasaka Type 38. This is the infantry rifle with a 31.5-inch barrel. This is the Cavalry Carbine with a 19.5-inch barrel. And this is the last major modification variant. This is the short rifle, often called a cavalry rifle. And these could either have a 24 or a 25-inch barrel. Now we have videos on the original Type 22 Murata, which was Japan's first smokeless powder weapon. We have one on the Type 30 Arisaka, which was the first to fire 6.5 millimeter. We have one on the Type 35, which was an improved, mostly for reliability, version of the Arasaka, and actually a lot of the improvements were designed by Mr. Nambu, later General Nambu, which leads us to the Type 38. While this bears the name of Arasaka, really the credit for the work goes to Nambu. First introduced and adopted as the Type 38 in 1905. This is a major update of the original Type 30. The barrel is quite similar. Takes the same bayonet, similar cleaning rod, although the brass tip is gone. Early ones would have unprotected front sights. Later ones, they would get protective ears. Medium length upper handguard. Typical ladder rear sight. Originally, these have a notch rear sight. Late ones would have a peep. And that gets us back to the receiver. Here we have an automatic dust cover, which was introduced with the 38. The Type 30 had no dust cover. The Type 35 had a manual dust cover. Now we have an automatic one. And these were installed in direct response to the original Type 30s having problems in dusty, muddy environments. Also remember the Type 30 had a 2-piece bolt. Now with the Type 38 we've gone to a solid bolt, not dissimilar to a Mauser 1893. Also, we've gone away from the hook safety and we've introduced this checkered knob, which can rotate to put it on safe. Hard to do reverse like this, sorry, but you would rotate it up. The original Type 38 would have this convex safety with the tab sticking out. If you notice, later Type 99s and late 38s will have a concave notch going in. There we go. It's a lot easier to safe when you're pointing in the right direction. Definitely an easier safety to use if you have gloves on versus the hook safety. Unfortunately, you can't use it to decock. The magazine is still the Mauser pattern, but we've gone away from that rather odd coil spring to more standard traditional leaf spring. And obviously still will have a quick removable fuller plate there. We have a semi-pistol grip with 2 tangs. Kind of slim, and these metal tangs, top and bottom, top, give it a good amount of strength. Bottom sling swivel, and originally we have a flat butt plate. Late productions would have a cupped butt plate. This rifle has all early features. Introduced at essentially the same time as the long rifle was the short Cavalry Carbine, which has the same basic dimensions as the Type 30. We have the protected front sight, first introduced by the Type 30 Carbine. We still take a Type 30 bayonet. We now have a short, comparatively speaking, upper handguard from the front here to here, as you see. We have a compact rear sight. Again, very similar to a Type 30 carbine, but a little different slide. The action has the dust cover, same bolt system. This one has a smaller convex notch here compared to that rifle. And we have side sling mounts instead of bottom. And these are actually very similar sling mounts in a very similar location that has been used since the Murata Type 22 carbine. As with the rifle, later production Type 38 carbines would have the cupped butt plate and other late features. Now this was a pretty standard production version. They made quite a few of the 38 carbines. There was also a specialized version called the Type 44, and we have a separate video on it because it deserved its own video. But they would begin producing both of these in 1905, and they would quickly replace older weapons and be standard issue before World War I in Japan. They would continue producing them through World War I, past World War I, and into the 1930s. This was still Japan's standard issue weapon when it would go into China and Korea. Now in the 1930s, it was decided that the 6.5 millimeter round was not potent enough against light armor or people wearing lots of clothing. It had its pros and cons, but they decided they wanted to go to a larger caliber, which is worth 7.7, and eventually the Type 99 came from, and we have a complete different video on that. Now, at the same time with the 99, they did not go with a long rifle carbine combination, they went with a short rifle. And that was after experiences with this version here, the Type 38 cavalry rifle or short rifle. These were older Type 38 long rifles, cut down from a 31.5-inch barrel either to a 25 or a 24-inch barrel. Take the same bayonet lug, protected front sight. This one has late features, including the peep rear sight and the concave notched safety, and the cupped, oh no, this one doesn't, sorry, I've had so many of these in my hands. Some would have the cupped butt plate, this one still has the straight butt plate. Now a lot of these features would be transitioned over, including the barrel length, the cupped butt plate on those, the peep rear sight, the concave safety notch to the 99. So either still fires 6.5, this is still a Type 38, but it shares a lot in common with the standard Type 99 short rifle. And these would all be modifications done in Japan in the 30s, maybe up into the 40s, using older rifles. Now, production of the Type 38 would not be discontinued in Japan until at least 1942, perhaps 1943. Initially, the Type 99 was supposed to fully replace it. It was adopted in 1939, and it was supposed to replace the 38. But, Japan got involved in war, other things. The 38 ended up being in production longer than they expected. So the Type 38 was still very much standard frontline issue throughout World War II in Japan. Even though they stopped making the rifles a couple of years before the war ended, they still made the ammunition and they still issued them in large numbers. So, it had a very long service, over 40 years. It was very well made. Nice kind of old world craftsmanship. The earlier ones had very nice blued finishes. Nicely polished and lacquered stocks, furniture. Reliable, simple. These bolts are extremely simple. They do not have many moving parts in them. We have a video specifically comparing a Type 30, 35, and 38 bolt, so check that out if you're interested in more of the mechanics. That's why I'm not doing it in this one. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of mention this since it is a major Japanese weapon and was the Arasaka produced in the most numbers. Estimates range, and we don't know exact production numbers, but total Type 38 production seems to be anywhere from 3 million to 3.4 million total. Keep in mind, they had been making them for well over 30 years, so they had a lot of time to make them, and in several variations. So it was produced in large numbers in Japan, used very heavily in multiple conflicts, and was a very strong, dependable, durable gun. As has famously been noted in many places and many times, this is an extremely strong receiver. It is very overbuilt for the 6.5mm cartridge. Many of these would be kept in service in Asian nations, East Asian nations, after World War II. Some would be rechambered to other calibers by, say, Korea and China. Others would be kept in their original 6.5 and issued throughout the late 40s and early 50s until newer guns came online. So these could be found in Asia after World War II. Many came home with U.S. soldiers, and many others were dumped in the Tokyo harbor. So today most in the U.S. are actually veteran bring-back guns. I think these are really neat, very nicely made. The 6.5mm, especially out of a long rifle like this, has basically no recoil and no muzzle flip and very little flash or smoke, so it's a very pleasant cartridge. And that had its attributes. It did not have great penetration for armor, but it was very good, very flat shooting, especially for when it was adopted, their cartridge initially in 1897. Obviously it was updated over time as newer technologies came online, but the same basic cartridge had been in service for since the late 19th century. Well, if you enjoy Japanese guns, we have videos on pretty much all the other ones, so please check those out. If you like the video, really would appreciate a like and share it. If you haven't already subscribed, we'd appreciate it if you'd do that as well if you had time. This is Misha, and we'll catch you next time.